The Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship has returned to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, a historic road course with an ecosystem all its own. From minute to minute, lap to lap, the Economy Lube and Tire Pro Sport Bike division can change just like the weather as it punishes and rewards the swooping undulations of Old Mosport. Who has the will and determination to grab the throttle when the eyes say not to over blind crests and tear-inducing straights? Locked in, clutch out, let's go racing in Bridgestone CSBK Round 5. Marshall Ferguson alongside Colin Fraser. It is great to be here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It is round number 5, race number 10 in the Economy Lube and Tire Pro Sport Bike Division. It's brought to you by Pace Law and the Fallen Rider Support Team. And in race number 9, Colin, Sebastian Tremblay, despite qualifying in 11th, goes all the way to the front and wins, but he had to make his way through a pair of extremely talented and ferocious Ducatis.
Got up to third pretty quickly, breathed it out a bit, had a look, understood what he was dealing with. We're at the first year completion of the Gen 2 rules. All Gen 2 bikes at the very, very front, so GSXR 750 with Tremblay, the 2 Ducati 955V twins. Very close performance. Elliott Vieira really piled on the pressure, but he is going to have to be more aggressive to make something happen with Seb Tremblay if he's going to score a win the way he did a year ago.
Sebastian Tremblay so close to locking this thing down. John Lang needs a miracle, Colin.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but don't forget Tremblay qualified poorly and a lot of pressure here because it's been raining. Track is drying, so everybody's trying to figure out what the tire choice is. The warm-up was by no means convincing.
As we see the rest of the grid here, Philip DeGamma Blanchette, Mackenzie Wheel, John Lang as he sits there at the back end of row number 3. Matthew Simpson on the grid here once again, and there is Tremblay in the middle of row 4.
And Christie on another GSXR 750 was the fastest in the wet-dry warm-up, so we'll be watching him. He had a good result yesterday, Saturday, in our first race here at CTMP.
Drew Weber, you say there, and Charles Aubry from France on the grid here at CTMP as we look at the iconic venue.
Yeah. Very demanding track here at Motorsport, one of our most famous, arguably our single most famous motorsports venue here in Canada. The other one would be Ile Notre Dame, where the Formula One races in Montreal, but they had F1 here before Ile Notre Dame.
A fantastic place to watch a race from plenty of endearing corners to sit around as they head towards the starting grid. And Sebastian Tremblay is heading into the pits. We'll pick up on that in just a second, but for right now, let's go down to our Bridgestone pit reporter, Sarah said.
Thanks, Marshall. Joining the championship all the way from France is Wildcard Charles Aubry, who's racing in sport bike for the very first time today. He joined the grid unexpectedly following mechanical issues in race 9 in the Superbike Championship. The European Moto2 rider rides a Triumph sport bike that fellow rider Maverick Sear's father, JF Sear, loaned him for the race after meeting him just this weekend. Aubry says that throughout his time here, people in Canada have been kind and always ready to help out. The 22-year-old didn't qualify in sport bikes, so he had to start at the back of the grid, but he will try to work his way through the pack. Regardless, he said he's feeling very relaxed and mainly wants to enjoy himself on the track. Back to you.
As we get set to go, Sebastian Tremblay in the pits. What's happening here, Colin?
Well, I think this is the year of the rain front, slick rear gamble, and I think Tremblay went out with rains front and back, came in, he's switching to a different bike. I'll bet you anything that's a rain tire on the front, a slick on the back, and he's waiting very impatiently right now to join the pits. You can see starter Chris Chappelle waving, let him go, and I think Elliott Vieira has switched Ducatis, and I think that might be Christie on the outside as we set sail and we're watching for Tremblay in the pit exit.
Apex Cycle starting lights powered by Honda go out full throttle, or as much as we can be tiptoeing through these conditions at CTMP on lap number 1 as Trevor Daley leads out in front, and now we see Sebastian Tremblay coming down the hill.
And if you're wondering why he's going so slow, 2 reasons. He hasn't been out on that bike, and also it has that bizarre mix of tires, rain front, slick rear, so in these conditions that's going to be really hard to deal with.
trying to feel it out as you drop off the cliff, and turn number 2 must be a heck of a feeling for Tremblay.
Now, you know what Daley's thinking. I need to make hay while the sun shines, regardless of whatever's going on behind me. What can I do now? And of course, Daley rode in similar conditions in Grand Bend and showed so very, very well. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that Ducati swap. Vieira probably was in the same position with multiple bikes set up for multiple conditions.
As the conditions on this track, expect it'll start to dry out a little bit more as this race goes on. You can see some of the dry patches, but a lot of wet in all these corners.
So the problem here is that there are a fair number of dry patches, but where it's rained hard enough that the track has drained, where there are puddles where the water's accumulated. We just went through one of those areas. The worst of them is the bottom of 2. This section in turn 9 is fairly wet still. So you can see Daley, who's on full wets, is taking it fairly easy here as he heads on to the front straight. What a great first lap, a smart first lap by Daley.
And you can see Trevor Daley hunting the puddles, trying to find them to cool off those tires and make sure that they stay in exactly the range that he wants as he wiggles his way around the bottom of turn number 1.
Yeah, that was the announcer's curse. I complimented Daley on how smooth he was. And think about Christie, hasn't been in a pro race at this level in a decade, and he's up to second and has a real shot at the win here. Let's watch Daley at the bottom of 1. We have seen a lot of drama here. Last year in the rain in Pro Sport Bike, we had a number of falls in that section, so we know it's slippery. Here, turn 3 is the spot where we've had even more incidents in this class in the last couple of years. And look at Christie climbing all over the back of Daley. These are the 2 bikes that Daley built to go to Daytona in March.
Yeah, they are the GSXR 750s battling side by side as Daley wheel to wheel with a bike that he put together for Daytona as they head up into turn number 5.
And you can bet that when Ben Young offered the chance to Christie to ride that Suzuki, this was the dream. I am fighting for the lead back at my home track at Motorsport a decade after I won the Superbike title for Honda.
As you see the sun pop out from behind a cloud here, they head down the Andretti straight as Daley leads in front of Jody Christie, but Christie takes a look around the outside. Does he have the drive on the nearly identical Suzukis?
And I think that's straight up to tuners. Christie has a special celebrity tuner, Kenny Riedman, former winner here, who's now leading the Radical Car Racing Championship. The 2 of them conducting basically a comedy routine in the pit lane. But look at this, we got some kind of flappy body work on there with Trevor's motorcycle. That may be a repair job from yesterday when he fell down. And Christie showing good performance, and of course they won't be geared exactly the same. There can be some setup variance.
Trevor Daley high-siding in race number 1. Jody Christie taking the lead away from him here in race number 10 of the season. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by Importation Thibault, Joe Rocket, and EBC Brakes and Clutches. Closed captioning for the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship is brought to you in part by Apex Cycle, BS Battery, MotorcycleCourse.com, and Revs for Rhett. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Jody Christie continuing to hold off Trevor Daley, who is ahead of Elliott Vieira. John Lang in a good spot for his championship hopes right now in 4th. And Andrew Van Winkle, the 17-year-old, is in 5th position as Christie up over the top of turn number 2. A double-digit sport bike winner and a former Superbike champion here in CSBK. Let's hear how he got to CTMP.
Yeah, I returned to the Bridgestone CSBK paddock this year at Rad Torque Raceway on a twin in the Pro-Am Twins. It was a bike that was passed down from my father, and he left it there for me to go do some races if I wanted to, and of course I wanted to, and it gave me the opportunity to get back out on track. It was a lot to grasp, honestly. Like, it takes a while to get back to your racing mentality and used to riding around the track and just simple technique things. But overall, it was a great weekend, and it worked out really well. I ended up winning both races that weekend. Ben Young, he was mentioning to me kind of nonchalantly in the pits, maybe I should come out here and ride his motorcycle in the 600 class. And, you know, I thought about it for a few minutes, and really it's an opportunity I couldn't have passed up. It's a competitive motorcycle. Ben's a great guy, great supporter, great old friend. We've been friends for many years. I took him up on the opportunity, and we got some stuff together and got it lined up to be here this weekend in the Pro 600 class.
Good to remember the Pro 600 class. It never has been called that. It's always been sport bike, but a different set of rules, and he is not on a 600. He used to be on a Honda CBR 600. Now he's on a Suzuki GSXR 750 with our Gen 2 rules that allows for the bigger Suzukis and the big 955cc Ducati twins. The top one of those is Vieira at a distant third at this point.
We're working through a couple of gremlins as well on that GSXR 750 as the weekend has gone on. And are you surprised to see Jody out in front? We understand his skill, but hopping on this bike at this location?
Well, the problem is the emotional component, right? Because he was such a popular guy when he was racing regularly for Honda in the series. So definitely a fan favorite. I think people have come to watch Jody this weekend, but I think it would be unrealistic to expect him to be leading a race in his return to a top pro class. So this is a fantastic effort, and he looks comfortable, although Daley is definitely shopping.
And when you talk about the emotional component, how about Trevor Daley right on the rear tire of a bike that he built? I mean, it's got to be going through his head, is it not? He's so focused on what he's doing as we see the intensity of the one-speed Suzuki rider right there. But at any given point, he's trying to make a move as he looks heading down into turn number 4. Over the hill they go, and Daley takes back top spot.
Beautifully judged pass by Daley out of turn 3, and of course wonderful in these conditions. They're running the clear visors, so as you pointed out, you can see the look on his face, the concentration and determination, and you don't get to see that very often. This back shot is fantastic. Daley with his Jackie Stewart tribute helmet there, and making the move as we head for the chute. Daley's had some adventures in this part of the track.
Daley won in the rain at Grand Bend in round number 2 and said that day that he was stepping on spiders all week long, hoping for the rain to come. Well, it has here today, but the track is starting to dry out more and more as we go on.
And you got to mention there's a superbike race later in the day, and at Grand Bend he scored, as he called it, the Daley double, which is not actually his order at Tim's, although maybe it is his order at Tim's, but that's not important right now.
There is some massive black clouds that are lingering off in the direction of left of camera side as they came through the final corner there. So while the sun is drying things out, CTMP has its own little economy when it comes to the weather.
I think saying they're lingering is maybe the wrong way to look at it. I think some of the people chose the rain tires, and most of their front runners right now are on rains on a drying track, and they chose them because the fear was the rain is coming back. Now remember, if the rain comes back, these rain tires are pretty cooked at this point.
Absolutely. Trevor Daley out in front of Jody Christie as we continue to make our way through race number 10 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, with Daley looking for the victory. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Trevor Daley continues to lead ahead of Jody Christie. John Lang in 3rd spot, which is really, really good for his championship hopes here, because Sebastian Tremblay all the way down in 14th spot right now. But Tremblay, as the track starts to dry out, has dropped his lap times from a 1:45 down to a 1:37, calling 8 seconds faster.
Yeah, we haven't hit the crossover point. He isn't turning laps faster than leaders, but he's getting close. Now, the thing that's so hard to do here is to ride into that pace without making a mistake and crashing and losing your shot at taking advantage. And we've seen people like Zoke and recently Sam Garant in a superbike race manage to make this plan work, but it's very, very difficult in operation. So full marks to Tremblay. We'll see how far he gets. And as you can see, they're fairly spread out.
Tremendous drone shot there as well. You can see all the dark clouds in the background just up ahead towards the front straight as Trevor Daley goes splashing through a puddle here and heading towards the closing sections of lap number 6 of 16.
One of the curious joys of CTMP is it can rain on parts of the track, but not all of it. And the rain is coming from the sort of turn 8, 9, 10 back straight area there. You can look over to our left. That's where the rain is, and it's coming from that direction. So this is the part of the track where we're going to see it first. You can see it's not dry yet, but parts of it are dry, and you can bet right now what Daley's doing is at times he's looking for the dry stuff when he's leaned over. When he's straight up and down, he's looking for the wet spot to cool off those tires. So a lot of decisions to make, and you are very busy and very focused.
And as he's coming over the top of turns 8, 9, 10, and he's looking for those dry spots and those wet spots, is he also looking up and recognizing that there's a massive black cloud in the sky and he's in first as we head towards the midway point of this race?
I don't know. I think when you're going to notice that is climbing the back straight, because A, you can relax, and B, you're looking above, if you will, and that's when you're going to notice, because that's where it's obvious. That's the part of the track where you can really see it, and our camera locations on that end are ready for rain.
And the reason I asked that is that Trevor Daley's starting to step out a little bit here as he's in the 136s, and looks like this is a fairly well-timed out lap as well, as of course Trevor Daley winning in Grand Bend in the wet. He understands these conditions so well, and he's trying to push and get away from in behind Jody Christie, who's fading a little bit further back than we expected over the last couple of laps.
I think Christie may have eased his pace, and we just went past the spot where Daley fell yesterday in the dry when he was trying to chase his way into the leading group. And don't forget, when we get to half distance, the race could be called official, and that might turn out to be crucial if those clouds, and my goodness, is it ever raining hard not too far north of Oshawa. If those clouds come our way, these guys might be looking at a shortened race.
Just a massive shelf cloud out there threatening the track as Jody Christie continues to pluck away in second spot. John Lang in behind in third, and once again Lang trying to hold on to some hope for the Economy Lube and Tire Pro Sport Bike Division title as Sebastien Tremblay well out in front heading into this race number 10.
You can see Lang looking smooth as usual. He's very good in the rain. We saw that when he won here on Friday last year in a makeup race for a wet race that didn't happen because the bridge washed out in Nova Scotia. But Lang, of course, needs a good result because he's battling Tremblay for that championship. Tremblay now just getting into the points, and on lap 8 we're just about at the point where we think Tremblay will be the fastest guy because he has chosen that slick to go with his front rein.
Andrew Van Winkle in behind in fourth position there. You see the number 45 FD Racing Suzuki as he's running really consistent lap times as well and trying to track down John Lang.
And it's got to be a good thing for Van Winkle to be following Lang because Lang is smooth and smart about his tires. We've seen that over and over with his performances, and Van Winkle is very much a coming man in this series, but to put the GSXR 600 in amongst the other motorcycles in this situation, amongst the veterans, because everybody in front of him has a lot of track time and a lot more knowledge of this track than he certainly does. Look at that, making the move or trying the move on Lang.
As Andrew Van Winkle goes down the back straight, tucks in behind John Lang and tries to make the move. It's Trevor Daley leading out front right now from Jody Christie as the front two get after it, but John Lang hoping to close the gap on Sebastien Tremblay. Portions of the Bridgestone Canadian Superbike Championship are brought to you in part by Importations Thibault, Joe Rocket, and EBC Brakes and Clutches. As we welcome you back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Trevor Daley up ahead of Jody Christie, but this is the battle we're watching. John Lang and Andrew Van Winkle. Van Winkle couldn't close the deal heading down the back straight when we last left you, but he's tightening up the gap once again onto the back of the 707.
Demonstration of the Gen 1 bikes. That's a Kawasaki ZX6R636 Ninja from a GSXR 600. These were the bikes that were the top machines in the class previously, along with the Yamaha R6, and then the rules were updated for the GSXR 750. And
diving down the inside 5B, 17 years old, and there goes Andrew Van Winkle passing John Lang in a spot that we don't see a lot of people able to make that move.
No, I don't think Lang was putting up much of a fight. He may be comfortable letting Van Winkle lead for a bit and just see what the pace is. I didn't catch who was behind, but they're pretty far in front. They've got a decent margin, so I guess that's Vieira who's really faded back.
And there he goes, John Lang back up into third as he went through a couple of wet spots on the Andretti straightaway and steals back a podium position from Van Winkle.
Yeah, and here we are in the dark end of the track. It is raining very close by. Here comes Van Winkle again. Boy, he fights back immediately.
What a great battle between these two as we are on lap number 10 at this point. Lang's first win was last year in the first of 3 races at CTMP. Was also in the rain call, and so he obviously likes these conditions.
Yeah, and that was a crazy race of attrition, and he was definitely the guy who judged the situation the best.
Also won a race earlier this year at Rad Torque in round number 3 out in Edmonton as we see Van Winkle just holding down the throttle and stealing the inside.
Yeah, and the door was wide open. Lang is not getting in the way or blocking or anything like that, but on the other hand, Lang is the king at getting the drive, so you can bet he's lining up the next pass right now.
As they make their way around here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, lap number 10 of 16 with Trevor Daley and Jody Christie continuing to be up ahead of these two, but a fantastic battle as Lang goes to the outside here heading up into 5A, tucks in behind Van Winkle.
Yeah, not an easy place to make a pass, and we'll see what happens on the back straight. Remember, a lap ago, Van Winkle made that dive move right here at 5B as we start up the hill. This is where Daley fell yesterday. Remember, Daley is up ahead in the lead, doing very, very well on wet tires on a drying track.
And you can really tell how much it's starting to dry out there from the drone shot as well, as the color of the asphalt has really changed on this back straight.
Yeah, here we are, top speed, just getting into 6th gear. Now we're breaking into turn 8, and here it's getting much, much darker. It's crazy how dark it's become.
Ominous all of a sudden in this part of the track as Van Winkle heads through the final corner And a little bit more of the wet stuff up here compared to the back straight, which has gotten a little bit more of the sun through the early parts of this race.
Heading on to the front straight, and Van Winkle has got just a bit of an edge, and Lang needs to hang on there, not lose his pace, because he's been doing a really good job. And we got to mention that Tremblay is now starting to march forward. That crossover point in terms of the tire choice, the gamble he made, is now working. So from here on in, Tremblay's got to see how far he can climb before we run out of race.
Yeah, Tremblay all of a sudden down into the 135, 133, 132 over the last couple of laps. So he's certainly starting to heat up. But will he have enough time to be able to track down those ahead? He's in 11th spot right now as Andrew Van Winkle continues to try and increase that gap on John Lang, who's doing really, really well to latch onto the back and try not to give up that third spot.
No, I think Lang is putting in a solid effort here. He took a second to maybe get a little bit organized, again a little bit wide here in the chute, using all the track, looking for those dry spots. Good battle between these two, and I think Lang's bike is that little bit faster, which usually at CTMP is going to make the difference at the end.
I think that it would be able to track down Van Winkle on the back straight here, but again, Van Winkle doing an excellent job of trying to maybe break a little bit of that toe as he heads down the back.
Yeah, and of course it's always good to be young and aggressive, right? To have that attitude that I'm not hanging around, I'm not waiting, and he's made for lots of entertainment. Boy, it looks gray up there.
Yeah, there has to be rain. Yeah, there it is. The rain has started pouring down exactly where we said that it was extremely dark, and wow, these are scary moments for these riders having to go through the storm.
Yeah, and it's unlikely they'll keep going when the conditions change this quickly, because when it rains that hard, it's going to start draining across the track. There we see our leader. That could be an important moment that Daley has led another lap as he heads into turn one. The question is, how far are they going to go? Remember, those rain tires are really worn at this point. Of course, Tremblay needs them to keep going, but really it becomes a security issue with the riders. Here we are with Daley at the top of the two, and you can see he's trying to be careful.
Yeah, you can hear the throttle control in that GSX-R 750, trying to make sure he manages it, going all the way down into the bottom of turn number 2, is now in turn 3, and the sun is out, but so is the red flag. So this race is over.
Yeah, the marshals are trying to deal with their easy up, trying to blow away. And look at, there's Tremblay, who of course was making the charge and had us paying attention to his efforts sort of in the bottom of the top 10. But yeah, the red flag is out. We have stopped this race and we're past halfway, so probably it's going to be scored as complete.
Oh, if that rainstorm had stayed away, it looked like Sebastian Tremblay was on a charge, but Trevor Daley holds on for the victory.
Yeah, and I mentioned Tremblay in the top 10. Well, there's the top 9. He's not there, but he was 11th, and that is what he needed. He clinches the title. Good effort by Lang nonetheless.
Let's head down to our Bridgestone pit reporter, Sarah said, with our winner, Trevor Daley.
All right, Trevor, congratulations on the win today. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel great. I always love the rain, so when it started coming down just before lunch there, I was definitely excited for it, and yeah, awesome to have a bit of redemption for yesterday. Give one to my crew and all the guys helping out for all their hard work, paying back, and everyone involved this weekend as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Tremblay clinches his third title, 2 for Kawasaki, and now 1 for Suzuki on his return from racing, because remember, he sat out a whole race last season in retirement.
Incredible to see in the different tracks he's won, on the different fashions he's won races this year, as well as the Constructors' Championship and Economy Lube and Tire Pro Sport Bike. Suzuki wins that as well, with Kawasaki and Ducati battling away. Only 3 points separate them. Sebastian Tremblay, just the 13th rider to ever win multiple Pro CSBK championships in any fashion, and the 9th rider to win more than one sport bike title.